Oh, hi. Hey there, bestie. How are you doing today? I'm a bit of a mess, but I'm doing my best. I'm your new messy bestie. But I look forward to getting to know more about you as we begin to see less of ourselves on the scale, in addition to seeing less of our issues that might be or have been keeping us unwell. I know you guys are all here for the same reason. That's why you keep coming back, I hope, because it's not because I'm funny or entertaining or anything. I don't think so. But my life can be quite funny and entertaining, especially lately. Now, I'm not going to re record this. Whatever's going to come out of my mouth is going to be in this video. There's no editing capabilities yet. I've been all over the place. I've seriously been that messy bestie because I just, I'm out here thinking about all of you guys, praying for you guys, hoping the very best for all of you that, your journeys that you're on are going well for you guys and you're doing everything that you can for yourselves and you're not struggling because I've been on the struggle bus. And I put myself there, I literally stood on that bus bench waiting for that bus to come by so I could get on it. Like, literally, that's how I feel, like, no excuses. And, I can't come on here and try to portray to be somebody I'm not because I didn't create my channel for other people to see something that I'm not. I came on here to be transparent and true to who I am, first and foremost to me, so that I can have a good recollection of, seeing what worked, what didn't work, what stressors I was going through, what was I dealing with, stressors I was going through, all the things. So, coming on here and lying about my weight, if I gained or if I lost or if I, threw in the towel and whatever, like, that's not going to help me. And at the end of the day, all of this, my channel and everything, it helps me. It's my therapy. It's my motivation. It's my encouragement. It's a tool for me that has been the best tool that I've ever had on any journey, weight loss or otherwise, that I've been on because I have to be accountable and this keeps me accountable. I'm not going to lie to you to your face in person, so I'm not going to lie to you in your face here on cam. It's just not going to happen. So, for me, you're going to come on here if you're new. You might see some things or hear some things and say, wow, she's really not making that much progress. Or, wow, why do I want to listen to this chick? She doesn't have anything that I want for me personally because I'm not learning anything from her about losing weight. But, really, if you look at it, you could learn a lot from me. Don't do what I do, um, don't do what I say sometimes either. But no, do what I say, but don't do what I do because I don't always do the right thing. I'm human. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I'm an addict. I have issues. I'm 55. I'm going through menopause. Or should I say I went through menopause because I'm no longer like in it, like the hot flashes and all those things. I'm over that. I don't have any of that. But I still have these like mental meltdowns. And I also have these other things that happen to me where I get extremely angry. And it used to happen when I was having a hot flash that I felt like I was being incinerated and burned alive or cremated alive. Like literally the flush of that burning heat. If you haven't gone through it yet, been through it or had any symptoms, I'm sorry. I don't mean to scare you to have to go through that in life because, what choice do you have in the matter? I mean, there are choices, but we don't want to make any permanent choices for temporary issues. And I say temporary because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is relief from the symptoms. There are many things you can probably take for the symptoms. I never took anything. I'm a big proponent of no pills, potions, programs, popping anything, whatever you want to call it. If it's going to cost you money now, in my mind, it's going to cost me money later. And so therefore I try to do the best I can for myself. And I'm glad that I have decided to do that for the many years that I've been on here doing this journey of mine, because it's enabled me to learn how to read nutrition labels, learn visually for the most part how to see like a portion size, know how many fat grams or protein grams are in a particular food that I eat. Now, I primarily try to do carnivore, ketovore, I don't know what you want to call it. I am still very much addicted to carbs. And vegetables, though, are my usual go to, or fruit, and a carb is a carb. So when I start eating that stuff, it kicks up some tremendous hunger in me, and it just sets me off on a chain of eating events where I'm, now I got to go to the store, and then I got to buy, I want some melon, I want some this, I want some that. I don't want to mention foods because I'm not trying to trigger anybody. A lot of you guys who may follow me are now on a GLP-1, and you can have those foods on that type of lifestyle journey plan. A lot of you are probably diabetic, and that's why you're on that stuff. And so, there are certain things that you're told that you should be eating, and that's good for you. And I'm okay with that. And I follow a lot of you guys also, because I just like weight loss surgery. I do not think that it is a cop out or an easy way out or any of those things. That's not in my train of thought. I don't think that way. I'm not here to judge anybody. That's not my job. You know what I mean? Like, there's somebody maybe upstairs or within the universe that can do something like that. But that's not my job, and that's not why I'm here. I actually think that these GLP-1s are amazing. They do amazing things for people without the use of having to go and have some doctor, even laparoscopically, go on inside of you and cut up your insides and pull them out through your belly button. I mean, my husband has had VSG. Let me get my letters correct. It's he lost 80% of his stomach basically. So, and my mother, when she was alive, may she rest in paradise, she many years, like 10 years before him, had the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass surgery, where they divert I think it's the small intestine or something. It was what they called at that time the Mac Daddy of weight loss surgeries. And, neither one of them had ever learned how to eat, never learned how to read a nutritional label, never learned what a portion size, an actual portion size versus package size was. And I was living somewhat vicariously through them for what they were going through with weight loss surgery, because I went to all the seminars with them. I went through all the pre-op stuff that they went through that was mandatory in order for them to get the surgery. I went through all of that grueling back and forth, the drives, and then with my mom, her stoma, which is the little hole that goes down into your stomach when you eat food, that thing kept depressing closed, and then they had to keep going in there kind of like they do angiogram and balloon it back open. And that must have happened with her, I want to say, a good 10 or 15 times. And, to watch somebody that you love going through all this, but still wanting for them as much as they want for themselves, the desperation to lose weight when it seems like even a glass of water would put weight on them, or there other medical issues going on causing them to have to take medicine and stuff on the daily. And thankfully, that wasn't me. But I was there with them. And then to see them eat things and do things and mess up any possible progress they would have had with those tools taught me why bother to put myself through that. Now, I'm not saying that for any of you who might be watching, because I know there's a lot of you who did have that surgery. And then there's those of you who, no matter what you've tried, no matter what you've done, even surgery, you've gained or regained back weight. And, this is a last ditch hope that's working for thousands of people. Yes, now carnivore works for thousands of people, and that are doing it. Now hundreds of thousands of people are doing it. And keto works for people that have been doing that. And that goes back to the 1920s, as they used it for adolescents to try to curb the amount of medical, seizures and things like that, that those patients, whatever, were experiencing. So, it's not like something new. It's just something new to many of us who have failed to research or failed to, turn on YouTube and our videos and whatever, and find out that this stuff has been going on for a long time, and it's out there now, and it is available if you want it. But some people get it, some people don't. I had a handle on the keto carnivore thing for quite a long time. I started the keto diet. It was in, I use the word diet, and for those of you who ever see me kind of like at the word diet and I cringe at it, is because diets have the word die in it, and that's why I always felt they don't work. And so I've always tried to refrain from calling them diets, even though that's what they typically are and that's what we know them as. The thing for me is, I don't want to, how do I put this? Let me just say, it's a lifestyle, okay? It's a lifestyle. It's a journey. It's something that we go on, but we should never go off of. We should stick to it. And so I did keto, going back to what I was saying, because see, now I'm all over the place. And I found out that that's possibly autism or ADHD or, oh, squirrel. But whatever it is, whatever kind of prognosis, diagnosis you want to put on it, name, label. There are some things that some people have come out that I totally emulate and can relate with. And they've said, well, this is what I have, and this is why I do this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, oh. And the reason I don't know personally any of these diagnoses is I don't go to doctors. And when I have gone to doctors, it was back in 2018. I mean, I only go because something's really seriously wrong with me and I need to for some reason. Like I'm not feeling well. Same with the dentist. And, doing the keto or the carnivore diet, I didn't feel I needed a doctor, especially when they were going to sit there, didn't know anything about that lifestyle and try to tell me that what I'm doing is wrong when I felt more right and better than I ever had, other than the fact that I was there because, well, one time it was a car accident. That's what actually started that initial journey back in 2018. And I had health care from my job. No, it wasn't from my job. I'm sorry. I don't even know why I said that. I had health care from the marketplace. That's what it was. I wasn't really, my job enabled me with living in the state that I was living in to get Obamacare at the time is what they were calling it, and the marketplace. And I was able to go see a doctor after I was seeing a doctor for a car accident. Now, when you have car insurance, you see the doctor. It wasn't my fault, whatever. So I had to go see a doctor. And then I wanted a second opinion. And for whatever reason, I went to see that doctor. And again, I'm not going to say like whatever they said, I wasn't really listening. I didn't want to hear it. But I was there for a second opinion because the first guy was a total douchebag. And if you don't know what that is, well, we're women. You should know what that is. If you're a guy, look it up. But anyways, yeah. And he was like across the room from me trying to diagnose me for physical pain and not even touching me or coming near me physically, as if I was some sort of a leper or something, and I had the plague, and he didn't want to get near to me. I mean, maybe it was his issue. Maybe he knew he had body odor or something, or he crapped his pants, and he didn't want to come near me because then he knew I would smell him. So, but he was being really like, unruly in my eyes, and wants to say, oh, what you're doing isn't good for you. You need to run around the block. You need to exercise. You need to do this. You need to do that. Okay, so I started this journey in January of 2016? 2017. Something like that. Yeah, it was like 2017. January of 2017. And then no. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was January 2017. Okay, I'm not editing this. I'm really not going to edit this. But anyways, you can see my brains are all over the place. I've got a lot on my mind right now. I have to get to work. I have to do all these kind of things, and there's just a lot going on. So, but this is me. This is what you get. If you can hang, this is what you get. So, if you don't like it, you can dislike it. I don't know. But, yeah, so I started my initial journey back in January 8th of 2017. I had a car accident. This is why I'm all over the place. I had a car accident in October, it was October of 2016. And then I went to see these doctors, and by November of 2016, I was, like I said, that guy just got on my nerves and said that I needed to run, or I wasn't doing things right, and he just made me feel really terrible for being overweight. And I got into this car accident because I at least attempted to go out in public, even though I hardly ever wanted to go out in public because I was morbidly obese and I either didn't fit in a chair or I just was unhealthy, and I just wanted to just stay at home and work from home. And I did that back then. That was what days, but I did that. And he was very opinionated and pissed me off. So I ended up going, after that accident and seeing him, I ended up seeing and getting a second opinion from this other doctor who, he was nicer. He actually, touched and felt places that I said was hurting me. And he did like an MRI, and he came back and he asked me if I had trouble swallowing, if I have trouble losing weight, does my hair fall out, blah, 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 blah. And then told me to go to the front desk and sign a paper, which I didn't know until I was out there to sign it, what it was. It was basically my acknowledging that he gave me information that I need to go and see my primary care physician because he's a doctor for the car accident. And obviously he's not allowed to tell me what he saw on this scan. And okay, so fast forward, I'm freaking out now, but I don't have regular health insurance and there's not a whole lot I can do about it. So I wait around for a bit and I don't do anything about it. And by the time I'm having an issue now with my gallbladder in 2018, I finally, with insurance and whatnot, I start seeing the doctors and doing all this other stuff and trying to get my health a little bit back on track. And by the way, the issues I was having with my gallbladder has nothing to do with my going on a ketogenic diet. It was because of all the low fat, no fat eating I was trying to sustain for a couple of years prior with these doctors, telling me what they were telling me about the standard sad American diet there. So, I gotta breathe. That's what I have to do. So now I'm going to the doctors and I'm getting things checked out, and they're sending me to oncologists because I supposedly have this thing in my throat and I have 2 nodes. And one is small enough not to worry about right now, and the other is larger. That's what they tell me. And I go and I get an aspiration, which is, if you're squeamish, fast forward a couple of seconds. They go in with a needle and they pull out or draw out from whichever node is being checked some liquid so that they can send it out to be, it's a biopsy. So they did that, nicking my trachea because they didn't even tell me, don't talk, don't breathe, don't swallow, nothing. We're coming dangerously close. And had me out in the car afterwards crying for hours thinking, this is the end of my life. This is it. I'm 49, 48? Yeah, 48. And this is the end of my life. Anyways, I can't even stomach thinking about it without getting a little choked up. So I had that scare with the cancer, and I got all the things checked and Came back that it was benign, but they weren't sure, and I need to go get checked every other month, this, that, and the other thing. Well, that was, like I said, the highlight of 2018. So in 2019, I decided I'm going to do the carnivore diet. And I started on that. I found it was even more sustainable for me to stay on track and not go eating other things. And I stuck to carnivore for pretty much forever, with the occasional, I'd have some cottage cheese or I'd eat some yogurt, anything with live cultures. I would, I would make like chaffles, which are, for me, my chaffles that I make are just eggs and cheese. And, and I would do all these things just as I did with keto. I just didn't really add a whole lot of the vegetables and stuff because the vegetables always made me feel bloated. They always made me gassy. They always made me crave things that I shouldn't be eating. It wasn't just, oh, more vegetables or, oh, things that I really, the fruits, and then wanting from fruits to more veggies, and then from that, then wanting cake. And it just, you can't do that, and then you have, like, on the keto spectrum, you have all these things that promote keto. Now, keto is just a metabolic state that your body goes into when you starve it of its usual fuel you've probably been giving it for years, which are carbohydrates. When you don't give the body carbohydrates, it has no choice but to switch its system over and use fat for fuel, which it does amazingly. And ironically, I benefited from energy and lost no hunger at all. That food noise everybody with the GLPs are talking about, I imagine back then it was food noise. It was off. The monster, the food monsters, I called it at the time. It wasn't there. I put him in the closet. He was gone. He was in a box somewhere so far down I couldn't hear him. You know what I mean? So it worked until it just didn't. When my mom got sick and I got back into eating the old way, the old habits, I went farther back than keto with that. I literally let myself go for like 2.5, almost 3 years. And at this time, still trying to struggle to get back on. And I would get back on for a little bit and then fall off. And then I'd get back on for a little bit and I'd fall off. And what I found was a pattern that I have, that when I'm by myself and my husband's away for some reason or another, and I don't have anybody else to worry about what they're going to eat and do for dinner and all that, I'm not constantly thinking about what they're going to eat and their food and buying food for them that they like and they want for lunches and all that other stuff. I'm not trying to put the blame on him per se. I'm responsible for myself, my own actions, my own willpower. That's all on me. Only I can react and be in control of my reactions. And so if I react with food to whatever symptom or whatever emotion or whatever, that's on me. I don't blame that on anybody. It was easy when it was just my mom and I, because she was going through cancer from 2021 when we found out. And I had her on, since 2019 on keto with me. So, we were doing the keto thing together. The foods were the same. I had a garden. I was growing vegetables, my own tomatoes and cucumbers and things. And it worked. It worked until hubby moved back. Things were just as they used to be. And of course, my stress levels. I'm not going to put it all out here. Maybe that's for another video. But it got to the point where I just was an emotional wreck again, and it didn't matter. I just had the efforts. Like, every day was another day of efforts. Like, I didn't care, and I did, but I didn't. Like, I would say I did, and I would feel like I really wanted to stop eating all this garbage, but then I just couldn't. And I was giving my mom garbage every day driving home after she would get chemo, and then she would get radiation, and we'd go right by the place where they have like soft serve ice cream because that's what she wanted. And I wanted to give her what she wanted, not what she needed. I knew what she needed, but I wanted to give her what she wanted. And there were those days, but less of them than what happened the second round of the cancer diagnosis. So she was actually, I kept her on a keto diet enough to, I hope it had a lot to do, because I can't claim to know this, but I hope it had a lot to do with the fact that she was in remission for 3 additional years after being stage 4, having stage 4 lung cancer. So I'll put that out there. But then when the cancer in her brain became apparent, well, I found out she was eating oatmeal and tons of sugar and all kinds of things because she had her own apartment downstairs and she was able to order things out from Walmart and have it delivered. And the cancer center themselves was pumping her with liquid sucrose, basically. She was deficient in iron. They were giving her something called Venifer, with a V, Venifer. And I looked it up, and it's liquid sucralose, a carbohydrate. I mean, just pumping this stuff into her every week on November 7th, the 14th, the 21st, the 20th. I mean, and this woman was writing in her journal, I feel sick, and I hope I'm not, nothing's medically wrong with me. I feel like I'm dying. By the time January came, I was having a MOCA test done where they test the brain cognitivity. And by March, she collapsed for what would have been probably like, I don't know how many times. I mean, she never really like passed out. Like she would fall. She had motor skill issues and things going on. And I'm thinking it's Alzheimer's. By the time we took her to the hospital that March 6th or 5th, whatever it was, my husband told the doctor, we're not leaving here until you scan her brain. There's something going on in her brain. We had an appointment for a brain scan. That was a couple of towns away, but it was best if they just did it right then and there. We weren't leaving. And they scanned her brain and they saw that she had a brain tumor, a big mass in the front right quadrant of her brain, front lobe, and it was bleeding. And that's not good. And so they immediately had her rushed over to the major hospital because they're not equipped in this smaller hospital here in our town with machines and stuff to handle such stuff. And it was just downhill from there. So she got sent home on March 21st, and she lasted exactly 4 months to the day and passed away on July 21st, right after her 83rd birthday. So what I'm saying is, having gone through all of that, so from March 21st till she passed away on July 21st, I was feeding her everything and anything she wanted because that's what they told me to do. Take her home, give her whatever she wants. We don't expect that she has maybe 6 weeks or so to live. So here I was, eating all the things, even more so than I had already been eating them. Like now I'm telling myself, my stinking thinking, because I'm the messy best friend, I'm the messy bestie, my stinking thinking's telling me, oh yeah, it's for her. Enjoy it with her. You know, this is going to be your last time to enjoy these things with her. And I was able to re-balloon back up, reinflate myself to over 300 pounds again. And I think at one particular time, I did see that number again on the scale, 315. I can't quite remember when exactly it was when I saw it. I didn't, for whatever reason, have it actually had it recorded in an old app for an older scale, but then I had to replace that scale. I wasn't believing what was on the scale. I'm like, I'm going to go get a new scale, you know, like it's the scale, it's not me, you know. That's what we do. We blame the scale or something else. It's not me. It can't be me. So I can't quite remember the dates and all that when that happened. But that was my initial weight going back to October 2nd, 2011, when I finally got on a scale. Because I didn't want to face the fact of something that I pretty much was well aware I was going to get on a scale, and I was heavy. I could feel it. It was in the pains and aches in my body. I mean, the things that I was going through, not even to mention the depression. not wanting to come outside of my body or outside of my house or whatever and do anything. I didn't want to go anywhere. And I was quite active with my husband in the early years of our 33 years of marriage, where I would go camping and we'd go fishing and we'd go out to, do things together and, with friends and go to parties. None of that. I always had something else going on. And in my alienation of myself and, just being by myself and isolating, he did the same thing out in the living room with whatever he was doing. And that made a very unhealthy situation for him, which followed us through the years, in which we both ended up suffering from, mentally and emotionally and all that stuff. So, it's not healthy to be depressed and unhappy and to be an emotional eater and not do something about it, not get counseling for it. He actually was able to go and get counseling and do things because he actually had an opportunity to go see a doctor. And then with the mental health issues that he'd been dealing with, he was able to get on a program with the state, and they paid everything 100%, along with the weight loss surgery that he had. I've never wanted to admit to a lot of the stuff and put myself in that place and then take advantage of anything or anyone. My thinking is I've been working for years, since at least, this one job that I do can go back before I even got married. 1988, I was 18. I started doing the kind of job that I do now. And I've been working for this company that I'm working for this time around since like 2007, 2008. I work. I'm responsible. I pay taxes. I do this, I do that. I don't want to be a part of a larger problem and, have handouts that I then have to worry about are going to be taken away from me one day. Like it's kind of happening now for a lot of people. So again, that's for another video. But, things have transpired all throughout my life that I can look back on now and recall and say, this is crazy. This is seriously crazy, that I've allowed myself to get to where I'm at today after losing my mom, seeing what she's gone through her whole entire life, suffering with lymphedema, CPOD, sleep apnea, thyroid issue, severe thyroid issue. Like she's been on thyroid medicine since like her early to mid 20s from my recollection. And I've not ever been on any kind of pharmaceutical medicine. Nothing fake, synthetic, whatever you want to call it. And please, if you're watching this and you see my hand motions and my eye movements and the faces I'm making, I'm not doing this to put anybody down who is having those issues or doing things differently. Like, however you do what you do, boo, do it. Go ahead, messy bestie. I'm just talking about me and how I felt and what I was doing. And so here I am all these years later, finally got insurance again because my husband has it and I don't know how to use it. I've been talking to people. Well, a person, she knows who she is. Hello, Delilah. I don't know. I don't know who to call, what to do. I am interested in getting on a GLP-1 drug. I really am. Because I'm tired of fighting the way that I feel right now. Now, of course, in the back of my mind, I'm saying to myself, you can still do keto or carnivore. You can still stick to that way of eating. You don't have to, eat a bunch of fiber and everybody needs protein, even on, you can't not eat protein if you're eating all animal-based foods. So, but do the same thing that you're doing, except for too much of it, and I hope that turning off what they're calling that food noise, which they say these GLP-1 drugs can do, is turn off that noise. And I might be diabetic, part of me doesn't, a big part of me doesn't want to be, but I don't want to take something that isn't really medically necessary. But then when I say medically necessary, I treat that comment, that saying, very gingerly, because I don't trust the medical professional industry as it is. I know it is there. It's supposed to help people, and they just learn their old textbook ways. It's been like that, however it is. And they're very, what I want to say? They're very like, you know, nobody dare speak against them. If you're a doctor, you have to stick by the standard and do this practice like this, and this, and don't veer off of that and try to come and say that this is wrong, that your doctors are lying to you. But there are a few doctors that do the carnivore diet and or the keto diet. A lot of them now that I follow that do the carnivore diet and will say, we don't need all this fiber. We are not created to be able to handle it. And it's not normal to walk around flagellating all over the place. And it's not normal to walk around feeling bloated and overstuffed, even if we only ate a little something. Bad breath, hair falling out, things of that nature. I get more than enough protein. My hair is not falling out. In fact, it's a little too thick, but it was very thin because of the menopause. So now that I'm doing better, eating more, getting more protein in and whatnot, and I'm doing that just because I'm choosing to primarily eat animal-based foods, I'm not having a problem. I looked up all these medicines and stuff when my mom was sick. She was taking a myriad of vitamins, and with a weight loss surgery, still with a small tool, it's hard to get food that needs to sustain a cancer patient into them if they're having to take all these pills prior to eating, because there's no room in there. And I wanted to see how many of these pills that I could maybe take her off of that she's probably taking that she didn't need. And this was before I knew of the brain cancer. She was taking all these pills from with the lung cancer and the chemo. And I get it. They probably wanted her to take a lot more vitamins than would be normal. But there are vitamins that you can take too much of that can be very harmful to you. Vitamin B12 is one of them. And potassium, the reason you can only find potassium in like 100 milligram tab over the counter is because you can actually OD on potassium and end up giving yourself a heart attack. So, they don't talk about all these things. They just make it sound like, this is the way it is and this is what you need to do. But they don't really explain it to you. I mean, even the sad American diet has a pie chart. It doesn't say on there exactly how many ounces of this, that, and the other thing. Maybe over time some nutritionists have come out and told you and said what they think it should be or what they've been told it should be. But the majority of doctors, it's not a prerequisite for them to have nutritional training and to take courses in nutrition. And so many of them have not taken them. And so when they're telling you something, they're only telling you what they are taught to tell you, or they'll refer you even to a nutritionist, like a gastric bypass doctor. If they knew any kind of information about nutrition themselves, they wouldn't require you to sign up with and go to see a nutritionist, which many patients have to pay out of pocket. It's not covered by insurance. I wonder why that is. But I know this for a fact. It happened both to my mother and my husband. So there's that. And I've also heard from many other doctors who are doctors, real medical doctors, real professionals, that say, we're not required to take a course in nutrition. The very least that they're trained in nutrition is so minimal. It's not like anything for them to have that kind of a say-so to somebody and tell them how to live their life and what to eat, what not to eat. And what I find funny, and I've always found this funny, and I tell this to people who say to me, well, why is that diet work? Why does the keto diet work? How is that sustainable? Or why is the carnivore diet? How is that sustainable? Well, why is it doctors tell us to eat all that stuff on the pie chart, but there's so many patients that have diabetes, whether type 1 or type 2, and or some other ailment. And I don't know if you know what type 3 diabetes is, but it's the Alzheimer's afterwards, it's the dementia afterwards from being on insulin and all these other things, and then starving these patients of all these healthy meats and stuff, and making them eat primarily vegetables. And so many people that go on these vegan or vegetarian diets, and again, I'm not attacking the vegan and vegetarian movement. They have a right to be and do what they wish, but it's not healthy. And I know this because I have over 950 videos now here on my channel, and I did both of those lifestyles. And I lost hair, I lost teeth, I almost lost my life. I was not getting in. It's almost impossible to get in nearly enough protein on any of those diets because of the foods you eat. And when I looked up those videos, going back to why I even started this conversation and went down that rabbit hole, when I looked up what it was that these vitamins are and how we can get them naturally with foods that we're eating, so that I could cook stuff that my mom could eat and then not have to eat it in pill form, everything goes back to some sort of an animal product. Okay? An animal-based food is where we get all of these nutrients and all of these vitamins that we're taking supplements for. And then I thought to myself, well, what did we do before the age of machines, before we had supplements, before we had vitamins? We have ancestors that lived off of the land and grew their own food, whether it was in the ground or on the ground, with hooves. They did not depend on all these bottles on the counter of all these different pills and or potions. I remember Herbalife, these shakes and Shakeology and all these different potions and things. I grew up with my mom and my aunt being a shopaholic for the diet industry. Like everything from speckle birds, which were speed pills, and things that they were eating to try to abstain from eating. My grandmother took these AIDS candies. Now, this was before the AIDS disease came out. And these look like little Brock's caramel chews, but chocolate. And we as kids used to get into them, my brothers and I, and we'd be eating them like they were candy. Now, I can't ever remember if it ever sustained hunger. I was a kid. I wasn't eating it with the intention of what they were because I didn't even know what they were. But they must not have done what they were supposed to do because my grandmother was a chunky butt like I'm a chunky butt. It is like all the women in my family have always been overweight. Anyways, I digress. I can go on and on and on for days. This video is over 40-something minutes already as it is. And I haven't even gotten to why you guys are here, which is my weight update. So let's go into that. And then I'll close out this video before it goes into a whole entire hour, because this is not a live. I know some of these lives, I try to watch them back because I can't be in the moment when they're happening. And they're like 2, 3, 4 hours long. And it's like they should be called marathons, not lives. But I love those of you who are out there doing your thing. And it's a hobby at the end of the day that helps keep us occupied. For this moment, 40 some odd minutes or whatever that I'm on here, I'm not stuffing my face. So put that in your hat. But anyway, so this is week 8, day 57. Last week, I'm looking at notes if you're seeing my eyes go where they shouldn't. Last week was 297.8. This week, I'm down 1 pound to 296.8. Now, I've been here day after weigh-in last week. I was here, but I've up and down a little bit, going down slowly, here and there. But I finished out the week with 1 pound down. So overall, I'm down a total of 5.9 pounds since only July 1st of this year, because that's when I got back on, did my first video that I'm back. And I'm down a total of 18.2 pounds since my total highest recorded weight that I am aware of. And I say recorded weight of 315 pounds. And that recorded weight goes back to October 2nd, 2011. Well, October 4th of 2025, I'm going to be celebrating my 14th year here on YouTube. So, now, I've had successful weight loss and maintenance in the past. It hasn't been the last several years, 3 plus, I would say. But I didn't give up. And I always say you can't hit bottom if you don't stop digging. And my bottom apparently has a basement, because there's been times I've stopped digging, but I still have room to keep going lower and lower. But I'm fighting this, guys. I realize I'm older now than I was. I have issues like the menopause now that I didn't have before. And then all these stressors in my life. I mean, the only thing that I'm good at losing weight with is in my wallet, because I've had to recently come out of it with quite a bit of money, because my computer, I don't know if you can see it down there on the floor, that thing, I've had it for a while. I need that for work. It has processing capabilities that no other computer on the market that you can just go into a Best Buy and buy has. So I had to order it specially. I do not have it yet. It should be coming the week of, like, from the 1st of the 5th of September. And then in addition to that, I got my husband an early anniversary gift, or a Christmas gift. Maybe a Thanksgiving gift. I don't know what you want to call it. Maybe it'll handle all of those holidays. But I figured if I can buy myself a computer, I can treat him to something nice. Our 65-inch TV in the living room has been cutting in and out. The volume is going in and out. And the picture is all weird, kind of like fuzzy and pixelated. So I know that the TV's going out. And even though I have this 40-something inch behind me and others in the box, I don't know why he didn't want them. Maybe I'll do a giveaway on my channel. I just don't know how I would ship these things, even though they really don't weigh that much, because they're just like, those thinner, newer TVs that they have, like LED, LCD, H, whatever. But, so yeah, so my stress levels right now are just through the roof. And yeah, stress spelled backwards is desserts. And that's why I'm your messy best friend. So with that said, guys, I'm going to get going. I'm going to shut my yapper and see you next week, I guess, for next week's weigh-in. So I hope you all have the very best week ahead of you. If you want to comment down below, ask me any questions. I don't know, be nice. That's all I ask. Just be nice. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. I love you so much. Mwah. Be blessed.